he had a couple of good bows. They weren't cheap, they were good. That's one thing. And of course, he was a great one for wanting to drive the car, you know. The car was his second best friend. I don't know how many cars he had, but counting. Someday I should start counting them.
Here comes a goodie. Did he ever keep his room clean?
Yeah, about 90%. But well, let's say about 80%, because he had his brother with him. That's why. Between the two of them, why they did a pretty good job. I can't understand how we did it because we only had that one closet in there. You know what I mean? Where they kept their stuff, I don't know. Although the toys are always put away under the bed and stuff like that.
I think I was about 8 before I stopped finding things in
Yeah,
that closet.
that's right.
New toys to me.
Yeah. But see, he did get gypped to a certain extent for toys because that was during the war years that he was born. And you couldn't get those metal toys like they had years before or before the war. They were getting all wooden toys. They were made out of wood. And so the only toys that he got any benefit out of, some that Jim had, that like an automobile and a wagon, and I guess the rocking horse. That's that Mickey Mouse rocking horse that we had. And so, and a little thing that just used to ride on all the time, just like a little engine. You could sit on it and they'd push them so they'd fly around there like I couldn't do that if it was twice as big. But they kept themselves busy. They had friends. They had good friends. Of course, they were good to their friends too. Their friends practically lived here. We used to buy extra stuff to feed them. The Fowlers used to come in there all the time. The Nelma's boys used to come in there all the time. And naturally, his mother would never let them go by if she had stuff here that they liked. And their mother used to say to them, "How come you're feeding them all the time?" And she said, "They won't eat anything at my house." She said, "They must be eating there." She said, "Yes." She said, "I couldn't turn them down." She says, "When they said they liked it," she says, "I gave it to them." And that went on until the boys, went to school or graduated and so on from high school and so on. Well,
Did
they
they
had.
ever do something special or surprise you to make you happy or proud?
Well, I think they made me happy most of my life. I can't think of any time that they didn't. Both of them. So I always said we were very fortunate. They didn't get mixed up like a lot of the boys do today with the doggone booze and drugs and stuff like that.
What will you always remember most about my dad? Well, I'm reading the question
About
about David.
David. Well, when he was born, it looked like he was bald, but when you look close, you could see fine, very fine hair, and it was light. And as he was growing, well, it would keep growing. And he was a great guy. He wanted attention when he was young, and he always wanted his mother to hold him to do this or do that, and let him run around wherever he wanted to go in the yard. That's one thing. We had a good yard. He could go run all over the place and come back. And I noticed how his hair was growing and how it was silky blonde, real fine. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, you didn't see any of those pictures? And I'll have to look around. When I start putting them in the album, I'll show you them then. And Jimmy's hair, when Jimmy was a little boy his age, they left his hair grow. He had a blonde hair too, but he had hair, and they left it grow, so he didn't know who was the girl with all his friends he was playing with there, until he got his haircut. And then when he got his haircut, he was a boy. And we used to have parties down when we lived down in the valley at Stonecroft Manor with Jim. We'd have, gee whiz, you'd have Bobby DeCosmo, Pat Ferry, his two cousins, and a couple of other, I don't remember, a couple of other people that lived in the country there. So we always had a big birthday party for Jimmy down there. And different times when they got together, like Alma and the women, they would have a party too. And we had a nice front yard there, and we had a nice big backyard down there. I know there's one incident about Jimmy I wanted to tell you about when he was just 2 years old, I guess, when we were living down at Stonecroft Manor. In the backyard, there was a little black snake running. He chased it all the way down to the hole, and then he put his hand down to the hole and tried to pull it out, and he couldn't get a hold of it, you know. And another thing is his Aunt Mabel gave him 6 chicks. Well, one of them died, but the other 5 he raised them. Well, Jim used to feed them every day in and around there, so they'd follow him wherever he went, just like sheep, wherever he went. But then it was time to feed him. He sprinkled the corn and dry breadcrumbs and so forth. So the time came when these chickens grew up. You know, it was time for them to. I think we wanted to eat them, but we didn't know what to do. So we just began to think, well, gee, how are we going to do this? And the Alma says, well, he said, you kill one at a time. Me? I said, I won't even take a feather off of them. They're just as much my friends as they are his friends. So she says, well, I'm not going to. She said, what we're going to do is let them grow old. Well, then some of her friends came to visit us one day, and the husband of this friend of hers, he was managing a chicken ranch for Mr. Lay down at Allentown. You know, that big guy that owned the big department store. He had a farm and a chicken farm, and this fellow was taking care of that chicken farm. And when Alma said, gee, do you think you could do us a favor? So he took the 6 chickens down the cellar, and he butchered them, cleaned them up and everything else. But just somehow or other, Jim didn't seem to miss the chickens. He was running around with the corn, and he was throwing corn around with no chickens. Yeah, he's starting to look around for the chickens behind the garage and this and that. He was out looking out the front, and he starts asking his mother. He says, the chickens are not there. He starts just starting to talk. He said, the chickens are not there. Oh, she said, they'll be back. Well, they never came back. He ate some of them. He ate some of them that day. That was one thing that was funny down there.
If you could spend a week doing anything you wanted, what would it be?
Doing anything I wanted.
Anything you wanted for an entire week.
Oh, man. I think I'd like to be down at the seashore, have a boat and go fishing, and sit in the sun, and get a $1 cigar and smoke one every once in a while. I think that's what I would love the best to do, yeah.